Can you feel this? See how heavy that is? It's in alphabetical order. Huh? Turn first page, see the A's, then the B's, then the C's. It's, how many pages is that?
22 pages.
This is a 22-page document of all the acts he owned in alphabetical order. And what do the headlines say? Michael owns 50% of Sony. Huh? That old Beatles stuff, that's chump change. What's that headline say?
List of Sony/ATV music publishing artists.
Read the first sentence.
Sony/AT Music Publishing is a music publishing company co-owned by the estate of Michael Jackson and Sony.
I own half of Sony's publishing and I'm leaving them, and they're very angry at me because of it. But I just did good business, you know.
You see, look, just read him some of the names. He on Babyface. Who is that?
Beyonce Knowles.
M.E.D.I.A. And it goes on and on and on. You see any others there you recognize?
Boys to Men. Bon Jovi.
We will loan you whatever money you need against your stuff here.
Catalog.
We will give you half of the ABC catalog, all of it, if you go with this deal. He signed it, but there was little clauses in it.
Right.
One, if you died before this money was paid back, we get it all and determine what we're going to do with the proceeds. They didn't care about paying off the estate as long as they didn't have to give that back.
Right.
Or if morality, something happens, it diverts to us.
Right.
Now, I didn't realize that ABC owned 98% of All Country Western. So Michael, with that half, owns 50% of All Country Western.
That's right.
63% of Dolly Parton.
That's right.
Which pays him an annual $800 million.
That's right.
Every year.
Right.
Okay, so all that broke stuff they put out there was crazy.
Right.
Now, after they signed that, now they got to implement it. So that's where the first child molest thing came up.
That's right.
Like 12 years ago.
Right.
Now, as me and you, bosom partners, we go all over the world and hang and we take baths and sit in ski rooms together. And you notice I have a mark on my chest. Now, at some point, we don't become friends or somebody scare you and you tell them this. So now when they set him up, the little boy was supposed to say, I can prove it because he has a mark on his chest.
Right.
Okay? So that's when he went into court and had to take pictures.
That's right.
So Johnny Cochran and them said, look, we know you didn't do this.
Right.
But it's hard when that boy sit up on that stage.
Yes.
And then they show the pictures.
Right.
We got to settle this one out of court. So they settled it. They put $30 million up in the bank and they got the interest on it.
Right.
Well, it didn't create a violation of the contract because he didn't get found guilty.
That's right.
So they couldn't recoup that.
Right.
So it took them 11 years to sit him up for the second one. And the reason why is because they had to change the California law. Now, the politicians didn't know nothing about what I'm fixing to say.
Right.
They decided that if your sister said I slapped her, raped her, robbed her, and then somebody come and pay it off or convince her you can't mess up this icon,
Right.
and she drops the charges, they got the law changed that even if she drops them, they can prosecute me anyway. That's what that second song was about.
That's what that was. Right.
Well, he beat that one.
That's right.
So now I got nothing left to do but kill him.
Absolutely.
Back to Jackson's accusers, the Arvizo family.
He should shout out to his friends on the west side.
In 2001, the kids were in a Laugh Factory comedy camp for the underprivileged when Gavin got stage 4 cancer and it appeared to be terminal. Gavin made a dying wish to meet Michael Jackson, and through entertainment industry channels, Michael was contacted. Jackson regularly opened his home up to sick kids like Gavin and responded by arranging to bring Gavin and his family to Neverland. Jackson often said that he created Neverland Ranch, modeled after Peter Pan's Never Never Land, as a place where underprivileged and ailing kids could escape their everyday problems, just like they might at Disneyland. Michael had great concern for Gavin and hoped that he would help him overcome his cancer through positive thinking and experiences.
I remember one time he taught me how to drive in the little carts, and so we were driving up the hill. And he told me that I need to get better, and I was like, I will. He told me, listen, I need you to get better. You are going to get better. He told me, I need you to eat up all the little cancer cells just like Pac-Man. Go around eating like Pac-Man. And I never forgot that.
Not sick at all. No more cancer. All gone. All gone.
He's taller than me now.
When they told him he was going to die. Isn't that great?
They told my parents to plan for his funeral because there was no chance.
They told your parents to plan for his funeral.
To cancer, he lost his left kidney, his left adrenal, his spleen. They extracted multiple lymph nodes, a 16-pound tumor, and it went to stage 4 terminal cancer in both his lungs. And when I would tell him, the doctors are saying there's no chance, Michael said, I will not have that. You bring him to me, and we will coat him with love. And not only did he extend love to him, but to Star, Davelin, and me, a complete family. We may be broken, but Michael fixed us.
But with just a little love and a little caring, I have seen kids totally turn around where you can't find any cancer at all in their body. I've done it a lot of times. I'm not trying to say I'm Jesus Christ. I'm just saying we just should, give a little more attention to the power of love and caring and faith and prayer.
However, as Gavin got better, he and his siblings got more wild and brazen. After repeated stays at Neverland, even while Michael was out of town, they began to exhibit an attitude of entitlement with Michael's staff and resources. Witnesses at the trial reported that they thought the family started conspiring to take advantage of Michael and his generosity. At first glance, the Arvizos seemed like well-intentioned, kind, fun people who had grown up in difficult circumstances in East L.A. and that they deserved the help they got. However, it came out at trial that the Arvizos were not as innocent as they first appeared. Trial testimony revealed that a couple years earlier, before his cancer diagnosis, Gavin was arrested for shoplifting at a J.C. Penney on an outing with his family. When a security guard confronted him in the parking lot, they got into an altercation, and Janet Arvizo was arrested. Some weeks later, Janet Arvizo sued J.C. Penney, claiming she was sexually molested by the J.C. Penney security guards. She said they twisted her nipple up to 25 times and beat her, and she offered these photos as proof. J.C. Penney settled out of court for $152,000.
During deliberations, some of the female jurors brought that up when we were talking about it. They said, now, as a female, if somebody pinched me on my breast, I don't think I'd remember that he pinched me 25 times, maybe 30 times, maybe 6 times. What's the difference? If somebody was doing this to you, you wouldn't remember that. Your thoughts would be maybe to get out of there, get away from there.
Well, there's no question that 2 young boys lied under oath to support their mother's claim that she'd been sexually abused by J.C. Penney guards. But there are many other things that we brought forward. She was arrested, brought to the police station. We obtained the booking information where she said she didn't have any need for medical attention, didn't have any injuries. We also obtained the booking photos where you didn't see a bruise on her body or a hair out of place. Subsequently, her lawyer filed a lawsuit against showing bruises all over her body.
Later, Janet and her kids admitted under oath that her ex-husband David regularly beat her and their children, and that they had lied earlier in the JCPenney deposition. Apparently, the Arvizos were practiced in using lawyers and their children's lies for financial gain before they met Michael Jackson. Janet Arvizo felt they deserved the special treatment they got at Neverland because of their disadvantaged background. Here's another clip from the rebuttal video, which was an aborted effort to support Michael.
Where were they when I couldn't feed my children, when I had to share a box of cereal? Where were they when my children and I would weep? Where were they when my children and I were lonely? Where were they when I didn't have enough money to pay for my bus fare, to get my son to the doctors? Where were they when I had to walk about 3 hours to get to the doctors for my children? And now, all of a sudden, they're caring and concerned because Michael Jackson is involved, the very same man who cares about me and my 3 kids, to make sure that their past is erased and that all they can count is a future full of happiness, joy, and safety. Where are those people when I needed him, when I needed them? And now, Michael is there for us, there for all 3 of them.
Every time she would bring up something like that or snap her fingers, she would look at me or the female Hispanic juror that was on there, and then she would say, you know how our culture is. Well, I'm thinking, no, that's not how our culture is, you know, so you're way off base, sweetheart.
At the trial, the Arvizos claimed that they were forced to make this rebuttal video and to say complimentary things about Michael Jackson, and that it was all scripted for them. Many found this difficult to believe, especially after this segment was played.
Wait, you know how these Bashir, you know how Bashir zoomed in on him holding hands? Do that the same thing.
Because you know,
because that's what a mother does with a son, or a father does with a son, you know, and they try to make it out to be something wrong and dirty. Put your back straight.
The hand holding thing.
Okay.
How did that make you feel?
Oh, we're on camera?
Yeah.
Oh.
we are?
Yeah, I was just rolling.
Oh God! This is the outtakes of the outtakes.
After viewing it several times, we felt this isn't scripted.
Well, you know, the jury saw that tape, I believe, 5 times. So they had ample ability to decide whether she looked like she was being coerced and whether everything she said was memorized or scripted. And I think the verdict speaks for itself.
Were the Arvizos skilled manipulators or honest everyday people? Here's one of the tapes where this question came up. This is the video where the sheriffs questioned Gavin about being molested by Michael Jackson.
You can just sit right there, buddy. And we are going to try our best to make a case, okay, a criminal case. We're going to try our best. But you need to understand that we're going to need your cooperation. And Gavin, can you tell us what your conversations, what you guys talked about?
Talk about, like, video games and people he knew and, like famous people. We talked about Neverland and cartoons and Simpsons and stuff. He said that he has something that can relax me, and because he says that I know you're stressed out about all the stuff that's going on, so I have something that can relax you. He went to the room and he emptied a Coke can, and I think it was Diet Coke, I don't know, but he got a bottle of wine and he put it in there, and then he took it to me and I asked him, well, he said drink it, and I said, what's that? And he said, it's drinking, so I drank it. I didn't like the taste, and I asked him, what is it? And he said, it's wine, it'll help you. Just keep drinking it. I kept on drinking it. And then my head started hurting and stuff, and I felt.
Okay. It wasn't right, was it? No, especially with your condition.
Yeah.
When I saw this for the first time, I thought, if Gavin is lying, he's really doing a good job. But that was before I heard he and his siblings were studying acting and had lied in the earlier JCPenney's sexual molestation lawsuit.
Their personal wish, humongous wish, is to be in movies.
Apparently, the jury wasn't convinced by Gavin's performance in the sheriff's interview.
Actually, that tape became very important. Most of us felt the same way, that we were looking for his demeanor. How was his body? Was he, moving around a lot? Was he nervous? Was he anxious? And he didn't seem to come across that of someone that had been molested. He just looked like someone that was just having fun, like being at a video arcade or something. He didn't seem nervous at all. And we felt that the police were trying to get him to say things that they wanted him to say so they could have that recorded.
He said that boys have to masturbate, because if we don't, we go crazy. He told me a story about this one boy that, he went and got a dog and he started having sex with the dog. He said that he wanted to show me how to masturbate.
He wanted to show you how to masturbate? Okay.
And I said no. And then he said he'd do it for me.
Okay. And did he do it for you? Go ahead, Kevin, it's fine.
He put his hand in my pants.
Did he put it on the outside?
Inside.
Inside? And what did he do next?
He started masturbating me.
Okay.
Then after a while, I told him I didn't want to do that.
Did he stop?
I told him not. And he kept on doing it. I told him he kept on saying that he wants to teach me, and I told him no.
And what, did he finally stop?
Yeah, after like a long time.
Did you, do you know what ejaculation is? You know what that means?
I have an idea, but I don't really know.
Did any white stuff come out that you remember?
I don't know.
You want something to drink? You're doing a very good job. Let me get you something to drink, okay, buddy? Where are those drinks at?
Trial witnesses testified that they found Gavin and his brother masturbating to porno when Michael wasn't on the premises. Also, records show that earlier, Gavin said that his grandmother told him the story that if you don't masturbate, you go crazy. But with the sheriffs, he seemed to substitute Michael for the author of the story.
Michael Jackson has done wrong. Michael Jackson has done wrong to you and to your mother, and his friends that work for him, or his employees, have done wrong.
After you've been through hell.
Exactly. And for him to be giving you alcohol, also knowing your condition. Did Michael Jackson know your condition? And did he know that he wasn't supposed to give you alcohol? Okay. Excellent job.
At the trial, it came out that the Arvizos were badgering a number of celebrities for money and attention.
Chris Tucker had interacted with this family on numerous occasions. He felt they took him for a ride. I remember him telling me when I first met him that he was told this child had cancer. He wanted to help them out. He invited them to the set in Las Vegas of Rush Hour 1. He thought they would spend a day, and they ended up spending, I think it was 10 days or 2 weeks, and billing him for the entire amount. And he went to Michael Jackson in Florida and said, "Be careful, something's wrong."
Got a bad feeling about this. I think we should just beat it. Stop worrying and just follow me.
Now, Jay Leno was interviewed by the Santa Barbara Sheriff's Department and secretly recorded by the sheriffs. He didn't know he was being recorded. And he told them words to the effect that this family had contacted him, that the 13-year-old accuser had tried repeatedly to get through to him, and that finally he had a conversation with him. He said that the 13-year-old sounded, overly rehearsed, sounded scripted. There seemed to be a woman in the background, directing what he said. And he got a bad feeling about what this young man was saying to him. And he thought they wanted money, although they didn't actually ask for it. And after that conversation, he told the staff not to let them put any calls through to him again, that he didn't have a good feeling about.
We thought, here's another one. They're trying to lure him in and suck him in like they did Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson's childlike innocence allowed the family the full use of Neverland, even when he was out of town, as he did with other families in need. They had access to all parts of the property and freely used the amusement park, the zoo, the arcade, and movie theater. The The kids figured out the Neverland security codes and were admonished by the staff for breaking into Michael's wine cellar and consuming alcohol. Eventually, the Arvizos got too out of control, and Michael started to distance himself from them. By this point, they were charging thousands of dollars of luxuries on Michael's account. Jackson employees related at trial how the Arvizos also became rude to the staff and acted like they were entitled to Michael's wealth.
This family began to come up with these allegations of molestation and conspiracy only when they realized that they were on the way out, that Michael Jackson was sick of them, didn't want to deal with them anymore, didn't want them on his property.
It was at this point that the Arvizos consulted Larry Feldman, the same attorney that won the reported $20 million settlement from Michael Jackson to young Jordy Chandler in 1993. The Arvizos met with the attorney Larry Feldman, who earns a percentage of whatever his clients make. He sent them to the same psychologist he used for the Jordy Chandler case, and shortly thereafter, the psychologist and Feldman reported to the Santa Barbara District Attorney's Office that Gavin Arvizo claimed Michael Jackson had molested him on multiple occasions. It just so happens that the Santa Barbara District Attorney, Thomas Snedden, had been hoping for years to find somebody to level child molestation charges against Michael Jackson. Here's Snedden at the Neverland Sheriff's raid.
I'll just stay here. I just want to find out these here.
Messero was asked if he thought Snedden had a vendetta against Jackson.
Do I personally think he had a vendetta against him? I absolutely do. Why else would you devote all that time and energy to trying to convict one person? And one thing you didn't mention was that there was a website at the Sheriff's Department looking for any information on Michael Jackson, along with the trips overseas, along with 3 grand juries, 2 in Santa Barbara, 1 in Los Angeles. And this went on for, year after year after year. And the best they came up with was this case, which was shot full of holes.
It probably didn't help matters much that Michael followed up the '93 confrontation with Snedden by apparently criticizing him in this song.
What Snedden was really up to, and I felt he was a very vindictive person.
Were the sheriffs looking for the truth, or as some said, were their investigations just one-sided?
He's the bad person, not you. Okay? Your mom, you, your brother, and your sister are good people. And you're helping by coming here and talking to us. I want to re-emphasize to you that you guys are doing the right thing and you're going to help a lot of people.
In a sense, the district attorney's office became the Arvizos' new enablers.
You watch that video and you realize this man has jumped to a conclusion without any investigation at all. That itself showed bias on the part of law enforcement. I think if you also looked at his demeanor, you didn't see someone who was nervous or shy or upset about what he claimed had happened to him. We also proved this young man had gone to acting school, had taken acting lessons, that he wanted to be an actor and a comedian and a celebrity. And there were so many things that were disturbing about that tape. I really thought when it went into the jury room it would help us, but I know the prosecution thought it was going to be a bombshell in their favor.
When the Arvizos believed they had some success with their stories, they became even more bold with their accusations. They claimed Michael Jackson held them captive at Neverland. However, during the time they were supposedly held captive, trial records show that Janet Arvizo took regular trips on Michael's tab to local beauty salons for full body waxes and other amenities.
What she should have probably done, let's call the police, and there's all these phones in the area. We could go have access to any phone we want and call somebody to come and get us, call the Sheriff's Department. But instead she goes to Solvang, gets her legs waxed, and the kids are running all over the place, wrecking the vehicles that they were borrowing, just to drive around in.
The Arvizos also had Michael's driver chauffeur them around in Michael's Rolls Royce as they went on shopping trips and traveled back and forth between their East LA home and Neverland. As these images show, Neverland is hardly an inescapable fortress. In fact, there are no secure fences around the large estate, only these split-rail fences that can be easily breached. A magazine photographer even caught this shot of Gavin hopping a fence during the trial. Still, Janet Arvizo claimed at the trial that they considered escaping from Neverland in a hot air balloon.
They wouldn't let us leave.
Were you scared when you were there?
Yeah.
What were you scared about?
That they might kill us.
The Arvizos claimed, along with the prosecution, that they were not only held prisoner, but they were also prevented from knowing the time. This too was hard to believe with the abundance of clocks on the premises that can be seen in this footage in my Neverland tour video. Finally, the cottage where the Arvizos resided while they were at Neverland would hardly be characterized as a dungeon. In fact, the family was staying in the most lavish guest cottage on the estate, the same one used by Liz Taylor and Marlon Brando, and the one Michael himself used after the raid of his bedroom, when he vowed he wouldn't go back into the bedroom since the sheriffs had defiled it.
Their room, a room that Marlon Brando had stayed in, a room that Elizabeth Taylor had stayed in, they defaced that, they tore it up, they wrecked the place.
Later, even after the facts and juror comments convinced me that the Arvizos were using Michael for financial gain, I still wondered about Michael's past accusers, thinking, where there's smoke, there must be fire. I wondered why Jackson would settle for a reported $20 million with Geordie Chandler in 1993 if he wasn't at least partially guilty. Here's Michael's answer to the same question posed to him by Martin Bashir.
The reason that's been given for why you didn't go to jail was because you reached a financial settlement with the family.
Yeah. I don't want to do a long, drawn-out thing on TV like OJ and all that stupid stuff. And it wouldn't look right. I just said, look, get this over with. I want to go on with my life. It's just ridiculous. I've had enough. All that was false. Complete innocent guy. I would never do it. I would slip my wrist before I would hurt.
Jackson was certainly guilty of bad judgment in the 1993 settlement, but on top of it, he also later got a big OJ-style trial. Geraldine Hughes was working as a paralegal for the Chandler's attorney in 1993, and recently she came forward to say those charges were also fabricated.
The allegation of child molestation was manufactured. I was the legal secretary that worked for the attorney who represented the father of the 93 accuser, and I actually witnessed them set Michael Jackson up.
It turns out that Geordie Chandler's divorced parents were having a contentious custody battle over their son. The dad, a part-time screenwriter who had written Robin Hood, Men in Tights, had an axe to grind against Michael when he refused to fund his new $20 million film project and home remodel. Shortly thereafter, the dad reportedly concocted the molestation story and demanded $20 million to settle the case. More recently, the son filed charges against his father for physical abuse. Not only was it a poor idea for Jackson to settle with the Chandlers, it also set the stage for others to make similar claims, hoping they too might strike it rich. After paying close attention to the trial, I believe Michael was guilty, not of child molestation, but of childlike innocence and bad judgment.
Have you seen my childhood?
He thought the world would believe him at face value when he said there's nothing more loving than sharing your bed. Naive? Yes. Guilty of childlike innocence? Yes. Guilty of child molestation? No. And the jury agreed with me and found Michael Jackson not guilty of all charges.
He was not guilty of these allegations because he never did them. He never dreamed of doing them. The problem is that when you have the media sensationalize a trial through sound bites and innuendo and sensationalism, which is only geared to feather their own profit, not to tell the truth, you have damage that's done and it's hard to undo it.
The media may take advantage of you if you act childlike, but is it morally wrong? Here's Michael's case for the importance of childlike innocence.
You know, like the Bible says, a child shall be leader of them all, you know? To be led by that kind of innocence. Didn't Jesus say, bring on the children? Behave like the children, you know? Not childish, but childlike.